investing in property makes sense. Investing in the right property takes knowledge. Welcome to the Rewarding Property Decisions podcast. I'm Jarrod McCabe, Director of Wakelin Property Advisory. Join me for expert insights into the fundamentals, trends and opportunities to help you create long-term wealth through smart property decisions. Welcome to episode 70 of the Rewarding Property Decisions podcast. So we're now coming out of the first major auction weekend for 2024, where we've had in excess of 1,000 auctions over the weekend of the 17th and 18th of February. And although the final clearance rate numbers haven't completely come out yet, it's looking as though it'll be somewhere around the 60s. So the market's started reasonably well. Now, obviously, given that it is the start of the new year, we're putting out our annual property report, so for this year for 2024. And so if you are on our mailing list, you'll have received the report. But if you're not, there will be a link within the episode information blurb of the podcast. Otherwise, you can visit our website and download a copy there. So as always, the report's fairly substantial. It's been divided into five main factors that we feel are going to shape Melbourne's property market in 2024. But rather than go through every point right through the report, I've decided to select two of those major factors. And we've been very fortunate within the report to be able to have two fantastic contributors to these main factors. And today I'm going to be focusing more on Melbourne's surging rental market. And so we are very lucky to gain the insights of one of Melbourne's leading property managers. And she's also a director at Belle Property, Brighton and St Kilda, Rebecca Berry. Thanks for joining me, Beck.
Hi, how you going?
Very good. All right. So I think we might start by just looking back at 2023 to begin with. What are some of the key takeaways that you've had from the rental market last year?
Well, I think one of the hottest topic really was rent increases and how much rents actually increased over the last year. There were some rents that were going up in this area by 30%. And
wow.
I think that, it was fairly outrageous. But I think what a lot of people forgot was that over COVID, we weren't able to increase those rents. So whilst we're seeing 20 and 30% rent increases, some of those rents were just brought back to where they were.
Yep.
But some have gone above and beyond that.
So some of them starting for a fairly low base, I guess, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. But our average rent increase for this office was sitting around 15%.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So what were some of the factors that really gave that a kick, that really drove that, do you think?
Well, we had a lot more people move into this area, so all the travellers were coming back.
Yep.
Wanting to sort of situate themselves in this St Kilda sort of Melbourne area. Very transient. We had a lot of people actually wanting to break their leases and move to other areas and other rentals. So what we found was some of the people who were wanting to either do tenant transfers or break their leases were either wanting to downsize or upsize. So there was a little bit of a funny shift in the market where we were seeing a few people change their minds. They didn't want to live where they were living anymore. They didn't actually want to let go of their full lease agreement. They wanted to either sort of change things around with who they were living with.
Yep.
So that they could still have that rental. Quite a few changes. Yeah,
that's a really interesting insight. You mentioned about the transient population. You do, particularly in the St Kilda office, have a heavy backpacker community down that way. So I'm guessing, particularly during COVID, you would have lost a lot of tenants in that space, and that's starting to pick back up again with the amount of migration that's coming back into the country.
Yeah, huge. I mean, our days on market here sit around 13. So once a property goes to market, it really does lease within the first or second inspection. And kind of we're seeing walk through the property as an average, probably 10 to 12.
Okay.
People will come through, and you kind of know if you price the property right or correctly if you're getting that amount of inquiry. If you're getting 40 or 50 through the property, it's probably priced a little bit low.
Yep.
And then if you're only getting one or two people walk through, then it's too high. So you're looking at about anywhere between 10 to 15 people is a really good, healthy inquiry level.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. All right. So if we look forward into this year for 2024, what are your expectations for the market? Are you expecting things to continue to increase from a rental perspective?
I don't think they're going to be increasing too much, to be honest. Just looking at our walkthroughs over the last weekend's inspections, we're seeing probably 5 on average come
Okay.
through. Whether it's just a time of the year, remembering that everyone's sort of just migrated to Australia now, probably in the December, January months, they were really busy for us. It's kind of slowed down a little bit. But saying that, our properties are still going, at the first or second inspection.
But it's so the depth just probably wasn't what it was earlier in the year, where it was quite frantic, wasn't it? Some of the stories that I've heard with numbers at attending open for inspections is quite phenomenal, even for properties that are probably not the greatest in terms of their fit out. But as you said, that may well be also a reflection of below expectation rental requests.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when you're pricing your property correctly, you should have the correct amount of inquiry come through, and it should rent within a reasonable time frame. It should never really sit there for more than 28 days. If you're pricing it right, it should always lease before that vacancy period is up, just to minimise any rental loss for the owner. So pricing it right, getting that floor traffic through, and getting it leased really quickly is always going to be good.
Okay, so you've given us a really good insight on the demand side of things. From a supply perspective, what are the levels like at the moment? Have they started to pick up, drop off? How are you seeing that?
Honestly, they're very, very, very similar to what they were 6 months ago. We haven't really seen too much in numbers at the moment. I think we're sitting at, let's say we've got 40 on the market at any time.
Yep.
And our rent roll is roughly 1,800. So you can work out the math for the vacancy. Yeah, but it's pretty darn low.
Yeah, your vacancy rates are very low. So has that 1,800 number fluctuated dramatically? Because I know I've had a couple of conversations with you, as also some of the sales guys, that there has been a bit of activity in that investor space from some of your landlords. Has there been a number of people selling down, or have they been replaced by new investors coming into the market?
So to be honest, we've got more investors this year, or this financial year, than the financial year before.
Okay.
But it's still very, very slow. But we're seeing some movement. Would love to see more movement, but that will come in time.
Okay, and what do you, I mean, given the rental numbers have been increasing, the rents per week have been increasing, but also interest rates are starting to finally see a bit of a stabilising. Do you expect to see that will be a fairly good draw card for investors to come back in? Because you do, I mean, your Brighton office probably has a few more houses, but certainly Elwood St Kilda, you'd be a fairly large portion of your rent roll would be apartments. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, about 85% of our rent roll are apartments, and then the rest are houses. So, the investors that are entering the market right now, they're apartments, 1 and 2 bedrooms, mainly. Because if you've got a deposit and you can afford to pay your loan, the rents are fantastic. But there's a lot of people there that aren't holding that deposit for their loan. So it's a very sticky time. Still a lot of talk about finances for our owners, and a lot of the owners have sold some of their properties over the last year to 2 years. I think we probably have seen a lot more properties sell in the last 2 years than what we've ever sold.
Okay.
From our rent roll, that is.
And what's the feedback to you and the team been about the reasons for that? What's been driving that?
Good question. So it's basically, lack of affordability. They can't afford to service their loans anymore. Some people might have overextended a few years ago. The interest rates have gone up. They simply don't want to be stuck in a financial, uncertainty. There's also the fact that they had the compliance and minimum standards that the Victorian rental legislation brought in. Although some of these things didn't cost a lot, it was just another thing that added to the expense. And then, of course, we had the conversation surrounding land tax, which really tipped a lot of people over the edge. I'm not having too many conversations now with owners surrounding that, but that was a very hot topic, a few months ago.
Yeah, look, it seems very common. We're having similar conversations here too. It does. I think a lot of investors are feeling it's almost death by 1,000 cuts with the pressure that's being put on them.
Yeah, 100%.
Are you seeing there's likely to be any drastic or significant changes or events or anything that's that'll be interesting in the rental market this coming year?
Not particularly. What I am seeing out there is marketing excellence. So if you have a look on websites like Domain and REA, you'll see the marketing that agents are using to attract inquiries next level. So professional photos, floor plan, visual furniture, that's pretty much standard across the whole industry now, and it's helping to generate that inquiry and just give prospective tenants an idea of where they can put their furniture. This is going to be my new home. This is what I can put here and there and everywhere, and just it's a better experience for prospective tenants.
Yeah, that's interesting because it's always been vital when it comes to selling property, but it hasn't always been important. I always found when I've helped clients looking from a rental perspective, there's a lot of them don't have floor plans, but I just find that a floor plan is a fantastic way to understand a property online.
Absolutely. And for us as agents as well, if you're providing all the information that someone needs, you're not going to be having people come through the property at an inspection, wasting their time and your time. So provide all the information, give the floor plans, educate everyone prior to them coming through the inspection, and then it's going to save time for everyone. And everyone's busy, so we want to make sure that our tenants have a great experience.
Yeah, that's great. That's really good. Look, Beck, thank you very much again for your contributions to our report and also for joining me today. And you've certainly been a member, a regular we've had on our podcast in the past. So thank you very much.
That's okay. Love to give some input.
So thanks everyone for joining us for episode 70 of the Rewarding Property Decisions podcast. Please feel free, as always, to share the podcast far and wide. And if you would like to reach out to Rebecca at all and her team, you can certainly find them at belleproperty.com.au. If you would like any further information on how to make rewarding property decisions, please visit our website, wakelin.com.au. Otherwise, we wish you all the best with your property decisions.